Hello, and welcome to our podcast episode number 109, Dwayne Johnson's inspiring true story of redemption through football. I'm Thomas, and as always, here with me, my friend Timothy. In this episode, we are going to discuss a film called Gridiron Gang. There will be spoilers.
Gridiron Gang is a 2006 American biographical sports drama film directed by Phil Joannou and starring Dwayne Johnson, Sibbitt, Kevin Dunn, Leon Rippey, and Scott Caldwell. It is loosely based on the true story of the Kilpatrick Mustangs during the 1990 season. The film was released in the United States on September 15, 2006. It was distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing and Columbia Pictures. Well, Tom, so did you like Gridiron Gang?
Well, Timothy, I must say that I really enjoyed Gridiron Gang. It's a film that touches on some serious issues that plague our society today, such as gang violence and juvenile delinquency.
Oh, for the love of all things historical, Tom. You just love those bleeding heart dramas, don't you? I thought we agreed to watch something lighthearted and funny after that dreadful romance film you forced me to watch last week.
Well, Timothy, dear, sometimes we need a little bit of reality in our lives. Gridiron Gang isn't just about football. It's about redemption and second chances. And besides, Dwayne Johnson's abs alone are worth watching the film for?
Well, I suppose there is some eye candy to be found, but honestly, Tom, you do tend to over-dramatize everything. Don't you? I mean, it's just a film. It's not real life. And as for your beloved Dwayne Johnson, he's just a muscle-bound meathead who can barely string two coherent sentences together.
Oh, really? Well, I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree on this one, Timothy dear. So, what did you think of the storyline? Didn't you find it inspiring how these troubled young men, from rival gangs no less, were able to put aside their differences and work together towards a common goal?
I suppose there was some sort of message about teamwork and camaraderie, but honestly, Tom, the whole thing felt quite formulaic. You've got the stern yet caring authority figure who's determined to help these wayward youths see the error of their ways. The reluctant misfit who initially refuses to cooperate, but eventually learns a valuable lesson about friendship and responsibility. And the inevitable climax where everything comes together for a feel-good ending, it just didn't really do much for me, I'm afraid.
Well, you can't expect every film to be Citizen Kane, Timothy dear. Sometimes we need a little bit of escapism, a feel-good story that reminds us there is still some hope left in the world. So what about the football? Didn't you enjoy the game sequences, at least?
Well, they were okay, I suppose. A bit too much emphasis on the inspirational montage and not enough actual football for my taste. And those slow-motion shots of Dwayne Johnson running with the sunlight shining on his muscular physique, a bit too cliche, don't you think?
Oh, come now, Timothy dear. You can admit he looks rather dashing in his tight pants and tank top, can't you? Anyway, I think we've bickered enough about this film for one day. What do you say we move on to the next topic?
Fine. But don't expect me to be any more enthusiastic about whatever mind-numbing romance you have planned for us next. All right?
Well, Timothy dear, since you've insisted on watching another film, I thought we could talk about a classic Hollywood romance. What do you say? Something with the likes of Audrey Hepburn and, what was his name again? The one you know with the debonair accent?
Fine. But I'm warning you, Tom, if there isn't at least one fight scene or a car chase involved, I swear I will, rewatch The Godfather again now. What was your favorite part about Gridiron Gang?
Yes. Well, as I mentioned earlier, Dwayne Johnson's performance as Coach Sean Porter was truly inspiring. He brought such depth and authenticity to the role, don't you think so? The scene where he gives a motivational speech before the big game. It brings tears to my eyes every time I watch it.
If it's tears you want You should probably stick to those dreadful romance films you love so much. Personally, I thought the whole thing was rather predictable and clear. The struggling coach who just needs one chance to redeem himself. The group of troubled youths from rival gangs who learn the importance of teamwork and camaraderie through the sport of football. It's been done 1,000,000 times before, hasn't it?
Oh, Timothy dear, you do have a heart of stone, don't you? I mean, yes, the plot may be familiar, but it's not about the story itself, is it? It's about the journey these characters embark on, and that journey, for me at least, was both emotional and inspiring. Besides, who doesn't love a good underdog story where the unlikely heroes come together to defy the odds and prove everyone wrong?
Oh, well, I, for one, would rather watch something a bit more original, shall we say. Something that doesn't rely so heavily on worn-out cliches. But if it makes you happy, Tom. So, all right, what about that scene where Dwayne Johnson?
No,
Not that one. The one where the whole team huddles together before the big game and they... Oh, never mind. Let's just move on to your next choice for a change of pace, all right?
Oh, I almost forgot. You mentioned earlier how you found the plot a bit cliché, but did you know that the story behind Gridiron Gang is based on actual events? It's true. The film was loosely inspired by the real-life story of Coach Ken Woody Wooden and his Kilpatrick Mustang. In 1990, Wooden took over as the head coach of the football team at the Juvenile Correctional Facility in California, known as the Kilpatrick Juvenile Justice Center. He was tasked with turning around a group of troubled youths who were all serving time for various crimes and gang affiliations. Through his passionate coaching style and unwavering dedication, Wooden managed to transform these young men into a competitive football team that won the 1990 championship in their division. The story of Coach Woody and his Kilpatrick Mustangs is truly inspiring. Don't you think, Timothy?
So, I suppose it's nice to know that some of the more dramatic aspects of the film were based on actual events. But I still stand by my earlier statement, Tom. It's just too predictable and formulaic for my tastes. And what about the new remake? How does it compare to the original? Are they staying true to the source material, or are they going down the typical Hollywood remake path of let's add more explosions and CG to make it more appealing to modern audiences?
Well, the new version, which is scheduled to release in 2030, has been generating quite a buzz in the film industry. Director Xavier Johnson, known for his visceral and gritty portrayals of urban life, has promised that he will stay true to the original story while also bringing it into the modern age. The casting choices have also sparked controversy, with some fans arguing that the new cast doesn't quite live up to the legacy set by Dwayne Johnson and the original cast members. But I, for one, am cautiously optimistic about this remake. Timothy dear, what do you think?
Well, I suppose we'll have to wait and see what director Xavier Johnson and his team come up with when the new remake hits theaters next year. But for now, let's focus on the original film. You mentioned earlier how you found it emotional and inspiring. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
What specifically about Gridiron Gang touched you so deeply?
Was it the character's journey from criminals to responsible adults, or was it something else entirely?
Well, for me, it was several things, actually. Firstly, I think what really struck a chord with me was the way the film portrayed these young men as complex individuals with their own personal struggles and motivations. Rather than just depicting them as hardened criminals, it humanized them and made you care about their journeys towards redemption. Secondly, I found the theme of second chances to be incredibly moving. The characters were given an opportunity to turn their lives around through football, and many of them took advantage of that chance to become better versions of themselves. It's a message of hope that resonates with me deeply. And lastly, but certainly not least, was the chemistry between Dwayne Johnson and the rest of the cast. Their performances were so authentic and heartfelt that you couldn't help but root for them throughout the entire film.
I can see where you're coming from, Tom, but for me, the execution of this formulaic underdog story was a bit too predictable to really hit home. The cliched moments and predictable plot twists detracted from the supposedly powerful messages about redemption and second chances. Plus, I found the way they glorified these criminals' actions both before and during their time on the football team to be a bit troubling. They committed heinous crimes, and yet they're being portrayed as heroes. Sigh, maybe I'm just too old and jaded for this sort of thing.
Well, Timothy dear, I can understand your concerns regarding the portrayal of criminals as heroes. However, one of the main points of the film is precisely that giving these men a second chance to turn their lives around and become productive members of society. It's not about excusing their past actions, but rather about showing that redemption is possible even for those who have made grave mistakes. And as for the acting, I think Dwayne Johnson and the rest of the cast truly brought these characters to life. Their performances were raw, authentic, and emotionally charged, making it difficult not to root for them throughout the entire film.
I won't deny that some of the actors delivered solid performances, especially considering their limited experience in front of cameras prior to this film. But I still stand by my earlier statement. The story itself is just too predictable and formulaic for me to fully appreciate it. Sigh, maybe if they had delved deeper into the characters' backstories, explored more nuanced themes, or even taken some risks with the narrative structure. But alas, we seem to be going around in circles discussing the same old cliches. Let's move on to a happier topic, shall we?
Exactly. Since we're on the topic of inspiring sports movies, have you seen any films or TV series that were influenced by Gridiron Gang? I hear there was a popular Korean drama that borrowed heavily from its premise.
Oh, yeah, I recall hearing about that one. Sigh, well, it's called Gridiron Gang or something along those lines. It follows the story of a group of troubled teenagers who are sent to an isolated island where they learn valuable life lessons through football? No, wait.
Sigh, I'm sorry, Tom. My mind just wandered for a moment.
What was the question again?
I asked if you have seen any films or TV series that were influenced by Gridiron Gang. Ah, yes. I see what you mean now, Timothy. Well, there are indeed several films and TV series that have been inspired by Gridiron Gang's themes of redemption through sports and the transformative power of second chances. One such example is a 2014 Chinese drama called Redemption on the Gridiron. This show follows the story of a young ex-convict who joins a local high school football team to turn his life around. Along the way, he faces various challenges both on and off the field as he tries to reconcile with his past and make amends for his actions. Another notable mention is the 2015 American TV series Ballers, starring Dwayne Johnson himself. While not explicitly based on Gridiron Gang, it does explore similar themes of professional athletes navigating life after their playing days are over. The show focuses on retired NFL players trying to find new careers and maintain relationships, while dealing with the financial struggles that often come with retirement. Of course, we cannot forget about the original documentary Gridiron Gang, the prison movie from 1993, which served as inspiration for both the 2006 film and many other works of fiction. This documentary followed a similar storyline, but was filmed at the California Institution for Men in Chino, California, with actual inmates playing the roles of the fictional characters. It's an incredibly moving piece that shows just how powerful sports can be in changing people's lives. In conclusion, Gridiron Gang has had a lasting impact on popular culture and inspired numerous works that explore similar themes of redemption through sports. While we may have our differences about the execution of this particular film, it's impossible to deny the power of its message and the enduring influence it continues to have on audiences around the world.
Well said, Tom. Despite our differing opinions on the film itself, we can't deny that it does indeed carry a powerful message about second chances and redemption through sport. And while I personally found certain aspects of its execution to be somewhat formulaic and cliche-ridden, it's hard not to be moved by the real-life stories that inspired both this film and many others like it. So, in conclusion, while Gridiron Gang may not have been my cup of tea, I do appreciate the impact it had on popular culture and the conversations it sparked about prison reform and rehabilitation through sports. It's a topic that remains relevant today more than ever, and one that deserves continued discussion and reflection. So, dear viewers, please join us next time as we delve into another controversial film or TV show that has captured our attention and sparked passionate debate. Until then, remember to comment, subscribe, and like the video if you enjoyed our analysis of Gridiron Gang.